Using robust Japanese technology and bargain basement pricing, why did Perodua fail in the UK? And was it really all Jeremy Clarkson's fault? Established in 1993 and using a business model already pioneered by its compatriot Proton, it partnered with yet another Japanese manufacturer, in this case Daihatsu, to produce cars in its native Malaysia. The Malaysian government urged privately owned Perodua to export as many cars as possible to help trim the country's trade deficit. The government saw Proton as its flagship manufacturer, so was pleased to support Perodua to slot into the small city car sector where Proton lacked models. Hence 4 years later, in January 1997, Perodua announced it had sealed a deal with European Motor Holdings to import and distribute its cars into the UK. EMH helpfully had 50 dealers of its own and ranked 20th in the Motor Trader top 200 UK dealers. So headed by a former Lada sales director, they identified Proton and Lada dealers who were keen to sell the Nipper, an 847cc, 42 brake horsepower, Daihatsu Mira-based city car selling for under £6,000. They expected dealers to sell a total of 1,200 units a year, promising them an ambitious new model programme over the next 2 to 3 years. Things moved quickly, and by July 1997, Perodua UK landed the first shipment of 160 Malaysian-built minicars and began distributing them to dealers ahead of the all-important then annual registration plate change in August. Another 100 cars arrived later in the month, part of an estimated total of 1,500 for the first year. The public launch consisted of an invitation-only party at all dealerships during August 1997, with guests having their names entered into a draw to win a free Nipper to be drawn by the Perodua chairman at an event to be held concurrently at the Malaysian High Commission in London. Perodua's UK sales director commented that the first cars will literally waltz out the door. He wasn't wrong. With a direct mail and billboard campaign targeting dealers' local areas, their network of 25 dealers was soon doing brisk business, earning an estimated 10% margin on their predicted sales of 50 units each, with a simple price-led sales proposition and a sub £6,000 price point soon filling the slot where Lada had left off as the cheapest car on the market. Publicity initially came from local billboard advertising. Surprisingly, the posters, which ran on 25 sites for 2 months, didn't emphasise price but instead focus on the car's versatility and practicality. The not-so-catchy strapline was, "Nipper, the new car designed to be used," perhaps alluding to the fact that it had been priced at the same point as a used car from a more well-known European brand. The message on the accompanying sales brochure said, "Yes, size is everything." However, despite Perodua's UK sales director claiming that the car would not be marketed as a low-cost alternative, some dealers clearly had different ideas. Despite an unpretentious but aging design, they believed this wouldn't be a deterrent to target customers, largely expected to be working mums. In fact, the advertising posters featured a busy working mom, but could just as easily include a retired couple or a busy businessman who wants a car during the week in town. Whether company directors rushed out to Perodua dealers to swap their BMW or Mercedes for a Nipper was debatable. As early as November 1997, parent company EMH were already reporting strong new car sales and a first half operating profits up by 42%. Their chairman describing the Perodua launch as sound, but within a month the Asian financial crisis was looming large, and along with Proton, a big question mark hung over Perodua. 1998 started well. A plunge in the value of the Malaysian currency gave Perodua the ability to slash the price of the Nipper by £800 to just £4,999, thus making it the cheapest car on sale in the UK. 2 newspaper advertisements with a free phone number generated 2,700 responses. Ironically, the resulting increase in sales meant they then struggled to meet demand, and with just 70 cars available, each dealer only had 2 to sell. In June, more good news arrived in the form of Cap Motor Research's declaration that the Perodua Nipper was Britain's cheapest car to run, costing just 13.1 pence per mile, including fuel and servicing. pushing the reigning champion, the Seat Rosa, off the top slot in CAP's value for money top 40. By January 2000, the Nipper was providing steady, if unspectacular, business for the dealer network, which had gradually expanded over the year. Despite heavy discounting from the mainstream manufacturers on their entry-level cars, Perodua dealers reported a loyal customer base and good steady margins. While the Nipper remained Britain's cheapest car once again, new models were desperately needed to increase the appeal of the brand to a much wider audience. May 2001 was a time of mixed news for the brand. The automotive press was reporting the Nipper was on its last legs, and a company spokesperson said he could not see a future for the model beyond the end of the year. The Nipper's replacement was Perodua's version of the Daihatsu Corore, which the spokesperson said would be their first volume model to join the range, entering the UK market earlier the next year, badged as a Kalisa. He also revealed that the company expected to add a third model, which promised to boost sales, and this would be a compact 4x4 based on the Daihatsu Terios, called the Kambara, although this never appears to have progressed, perhaps due to pressure from Daihatsu UK. Moves to increase their dealer network were underway, and the company enjoyed the rare situation of having back orders for around 100 cars, mainly the Canary Mini MPV. 2002 arrived, and the ever-optimistic Perodua UK were once again making bold predictions with the arrival of the Kalisa. Retailing at just £5,300, they anticipated selling 1,500 units, and with the 500 Canary Mini MPVs, this would almost double their UK sales. Press reaction was positive, and even one of the Top Gear team offered praise for the way the Kalisa drove. James May pronounced the Kalisa as perfectly okay and full of feel, and being 150 kilos lighter than the equivalent Ford car was like throwing out two passengers. I wonder who he was thinking about here. And he concluded it was a bit of a laugh to drive, although Jeremy didn't seem to agree. Despite the positive press comments and the initial optimism, the brand actually suffered a dip in sales during 2002, with first half year registrations down 33.5% to just 495, apparently put down to strong sales in the previous year and again supply issues. So their predicted 2000 sales proved a bit wide of the mark, and volume remained flat with just 1,111 units registered. In November 2005, the release of Jeremy Clarkson's DVD video Heaven and Hell saw him select 7 cars that he'd take to heaven with him and 7 cars he would send to hell. His choice wasn't good for the little Kalisa, and unfortunately caused a diplomatic incident with the Malaysians. Finally, some good news arrived in September 2006, with Perodua's new 5-door Super Mini, the Daihatsu Syrian-based Mivi, which went on sale at a starting price of £7,799, but supported by £1,000 cashback during the launch period, making it a great budget purchase. Perodua were celebrating their 10th anniversary in August 2007, and as part of these celebrations offering £1,000 cashback and an extension of their warranty from 3 years 36,000 to a more impressive 3 years 60,000 miles. In June 2008, the launch of the Mivi, together with the Kalisa, delivered an increase in sales with a volume 6.1% up, a great performance in a market down by the same amount. And in June alone, they sold over 22% more Kalisas compared to June 2007. Plus like-for-like Canary sales were also up by a fifth. The company put this down to better value for money and even better value incentives. The Kalisa also enabled them to keep the accolade of Britain's cheapest car, now costing £4,812 with £200 worth of free metallic paint. Despite all of this, at the end of the year, just 624 Peroduas found homes with UK buyers. Whilst the 2009 scrappage scheme was again fueling sales of new cars in September, the critical plate change month now, Perodua actually benefited very little, securing just 108 sales out of 178,278 sales in the month. For comparison, Daihatsu, upon which the brand based its platforms, secured 545 registrations. Sadly, 2009 closed with 650 registrations. The scrappage opportunity had been lost. Despite adding the special edition Mivy SXI in ebony black, and adding the Mivy to the Motability scheme in 2012, sales continued the downward spiral, and by the end of 2012 just 416 registrations had been achieved. The end was near. 2013 again proved tough for the brands at the bottom of the UK sales charts. Perodua closed the year down 50% to just 206 units for the full year. They were even outsold by specialty sports car manufacturer Lotus. So after selling 13,000 units of Nippers, Khalisas, Canaris and Mivis, the company finally withdrew from the UK after 16 years and retreated back to their Asian markets, where they still have a strong presence to this day. After a promising start, the brand never quite managed to convert their endless optimism into solid and consistent growth. A small model range, frequent supply issues and an ever-competitive UK automotive environment eradicated their price advantage and finally put paid to their plans.